All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm going to show you all the biggest tip or trick I have for the NSX probably that'll help out a ton of you guys. And it's a problem that affects a lot of NSX owners. And what is it? What are we looking at right now? It has to do with your exhaust tips being centered in your rear bumper or in your O2 rear valence specifically, as I find where a lot of people have this issue where the exhausts tend to shift to the right, I believe it is. And I've heard people say that, oh, it's because you have aftermarket headers or you have aftermarket cats or you have test pipes or something like that. What I've found is that a lot of exhaust systems, for whatever reason, on the O2 valence are off-center, no matter you have stock exhaust manifold, stock cats, whatever. I do have DC headers and stock cats, and mine is off to the right. However, Tony, who you all know in the yellow NSX, has an NA2 with stock exhaust manifolds and stock cats and aftermarket exhaust, and his is off to the right. There's many different people, many different exhausts. I should point out that I've owned like 3 different other exhaust systems. They've all had the same issue too, to varying degrees, but the RFY Titanium 4.1 had the same problem. The Titec center exit that I ran with the diffuser, same problem. I believe the exhaust that my car came with, I forget what it was called. But anyway, I believe it had the same problem too. So, what is the issue you're asking me? Chris, your exhaust looks pretty good. This one does look perfectly centered. This one, ever so slightly off to the center this way. So what I'm going to do is shift it slightly over to the right. So this one's not going to be fully centered, but at least they'll be even. So I'm going to hopefully get both of these exhaust tips kind of where this one is shifted over slightly to the right, and this one's, maybe shifted over slightly to the left. So at least they're both even to the car itself. So you're asking me, Chris, what is the tips and trick to do this? Because a lot of people think it's the adjustable hangers that you need. I think Cedar Ridge makes the adjustable hangers. I do have them. I think I'm running them right now, but all those do is have adjustment up and down. What you need is left and right adjustment. So the only way to fix that is either get your exhaust hangers modified, get your exhaust tips modified, or you can do this, which is a lot cheaper. So what is going on here? So you can see I do have the Cedar Ridge adjustable hangers, but what I have here is safety wire. And so I have safety wire going to the hanger of my exhaust, and this is the left side, and it's attaching to this bracket that's welded to the chassis. And ignore the zip tie, I'm going to get to that in a second, but just look at the safety wire and what it's doing. It's pulling the exhaust system to the driver's side. So it's pulling the exhaust system leftwards. And so that's what I did to fix it. The zip tie was basically a easy fix to get it more over to the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that zip tie, and we're going to see how much it shifts over. So again, this exhaust tip is basically centered, so I'm going to cut the zip tie and see what happens. All right, underneath the car. So basically, let me explain to you what the zip tie was doing. This safety wire is not the easiest to work with. It's not like string, so when you wrap it around, and I wrapped it around multiple times so the wire has less of a chance to break, you can't just like pull on it to tighten it more or less like a piece of rope or a piece of string. There's too much friction, metal on metal, so it's not gonna just like cinch up like a piece of string again. So I did it to the best that I could at first, and I thought it needed a little bit more, and so what I did was I put a bolt in there and a zip tie to kind of cinch it up a little bit more. But that seems like it's too much, so I'm going to cut this. Let the exhaust move a little bit. Okay, and now with the zip tie cut, you can see that this exhaust tip is ever so slightly towards the center of the vehicle. You can see this gap slightly bigger than this gap. This exhaust tip didn't look like it moved too much, but it looks pretty similar to the other side. I'm going to let it settle. That wire, the safety wire, was zip tied for a while, so I'm going to let it, drive it around a few weeks, let the safety wire warm up and stretch out a little bit, and see if it shifts over. So that's my tip for exhaust centering. All of you should have that bracket that I safety wired around. I'm not sure why exhausts are off center. The conspiracy theorist in me thinks that, wants to say like the O2 valence is not fully symmetrical, or maybe it's just not as pronounced on the pre-O2 valence. But anyway, a lot of cars have this issue with a lot of different exhaust systems. So again, I'll show you. Okay, so here's a better view. Again, this is the driver's side because I'm pulling the exhaust over towards the driver's side, the left side of the vehicle. I have the wire wrapped around a hanger, a strong part of the hanger, I should mention, and it's wrapped through this bracket. There's supposed to be a cover here, which I'm going to reinstall, but it should not affect you guys getting this safety wire through the inside of this bracket. There's a hole that goes straight through. I'm not putting it through the bolt hole, so it should not affect mounting of that cover, that splash shield. But safety wire, I wrapped it around twice, tied it up, and it's been good for many thousands of miles. Important thing to note, caveat, is that it's putting stress on the exhaust system. So I've always kept in mind that, especially on a titanium exhaust system like this, you could develop cracks in places because you're putting stress on the exhaust system in an unnatural position. So keep that in mind. My exhaust system is old. It's developed cracks already, which is very common. A lot of ARC and advanced systems, this is an advanced exhaust system, they do develop cracks just from being used. So around the welds is where it usually happens, welds and brackets. Mine, ever since I did the safety wire, has not developed any cracks. So just keep that in mind. Do this at your own discretion. But I've always known that, it's tweaking it into an unnatural position. So there's a possibility of cracks being developed in places. But for me, so far, so good. Again, I've run this for thousands of miles. This is what I use to keep my exhaust centered. So if you're OCD about centering it and you haven't figured out any other way, you want a cheap way to do it, again, you can have someone, you can have a fabricator redo your flanges, do your whole exhaust system, make it centered, cut off your tips and have it re-welded in the right position, heat up and bend these mounting brackets. You can do all that. That's going to be expensive unless you can do it yourself. This safety wire costs a few bucks, and you can do it once your car is up in the air. You can do it in probably 20 minutes or less. So let me show you the safety wire right now. All right, so if you're not familiar with safety wire, this is what it looks like. This is aircraft stainless steel wire. You can get it at Harbor Freight. I don't remember which one I got at Harbor Freight, probably this one. But basically I'm using the thicker one. This is a thinner one. So I'm using this thick one. It is 0.041 stainless steel lock wire, and it's very strong. And what this is typically used for, in automotive at least, what I use it for is when I was at Greddy, and you had to heat wrap certain pipes and things like that with the fiberglass heat wrap. This is what you would use to secure the fiberglass heat wrap to pipes and things like that. There's a special tool for this to tighten and wind up the safety wire. You don't necessarily need that. You can just use pliers. In this case, it's not visible to anyone outside the car. But if you want to make it look, super nice or super legit, you can Google that safety wire tool. It basically winds up the wire in a nice way. So I couldn't show you how I did it, but essentially, again, it's easier to do with two people. But I did it by myself. You just wrap the wire through the hole, through the bracket, and basically hold the exhaust to the position you think it's centered in, and then tie the metal wire in place. And it might take a few goes at it. I took probably 3 or 4 tries to get it perfectly, because again, you cannot cinch the wire because there's too much friction. So you basically have to kind of get lucky and get it centered, tighten it up, and then check it. And if it's not centered, you need more or you need less, loosen it or tighten it by pulling it more, and then tighten it up again until you get to the correct position. But it's very simple. Just wrap these two pieces together to get it to whatever side. And if you need it for some reason, you need it more over to the passenger side, these brackets exist also on the passenger side. So you can do this on the passenger side as well. So I hope that helps you guys center your exhaust systems. And then again, if you do have a problem with the exhaust system, the tips being too low or too high on one side, you can use the Cedar Ridge adjustable hangers to help you out with that. So that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching.